Hello guys and welcome to another workflow quickie with me, Eldarin from Live Lumir. Today we're going to do a quick tutorial on how to cut to audio using a pretty interesting method between multiple apps. Today we're in Premiere Pro and we're going to be using Fruity Loops to do some audio cutting and a little bit of Audition. Alright, so some preliminaries here. We go into the directory I've set up for this project under workflow quickies and cutting the audio. We have a footage folder here, and when I'm editing footage for client projects, I like to store my footage items in footage, and if it includes a photo shoot, I like to store the photos in photos, and oftentimes depends, but I'll usually create an assets folder and I'll store miscellaneous assets like audio and stuff in an assets folder. But if we go into our footage folder, we have two items here. We have Fiona and Flore's Dubsteady track off of their Dubsteady album, and this particular MP3 was located on freemusicarchive.org. So you can go there, and there's a lot of music from a lot of different artists that's free that you can use freely in your projects. This particular movie, which is only 12 seconds long, was from freestockfootage.com, and just a quick shot of really cute girl in some workout clothes just dancing. Alright, so those are our footage items, and this is our folder structure. Alright, so our Premiere Pro project is going to go here. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this directory out here, and we're going to create a new Premiere Pro project, and we'll call this cutting to audio. So it'll have the same name as our directory. Then we'll browse, and we'll go ahead and enter our address here, and that'll put us in our directory, and we'll select this folder as our directory, and we can leave everything else as normal, and we're set. Scratch discs wise, you can also change those if you want to a drive that's faster or what have you. I usually leave it alone and have them the same as the project. So yeah, we're ready to open up our project. Now in here, Premiere Pro likes you to select the sequence preset that matches whatever your final output's going to be. But there's a quicker workflow here. If we take our footage and bring it into Premiere, we can actually create a sequence that has the exact same settings as our footage. So the only reason why you would use these sequences is if you're sure of exactly what your output's going to be. Like for instance, there's a broadcast project I'm working on now for national television, and they require their footage to be in 1080i, 60 frames or 60 fills per second. So that's this setting here. So I would click this, and I would use this this preset for all of my stuff. And because it's a perfect preset here in Premiere Pro, I can be sure that no matter what acquisition footage I get from my client, I can be sure that it all gets put on a timeline that's 60i. But in this particular case, we're just going to pick a random preset. It doesn't matter which. And we're going to go ahead and open our project, and then we can just delete. So, in Premiere, don't get hung up on that sequence and that sequence preset browser, and then not be able to actually get into Premiere and start editing. It's just kind of just there, and you can kind of just click right straight through it. And you can change everything here once you get in Premiere, so it's all good. We're going to go ahead and save this project out. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and bring in our footage. So we'll go to the correct folder here. Which is going to be this cutting the audio footage folder, and we'll just go ahead and drag in the footage and drop it right here in the project panel. And there we go. We've got our footage, and it's turns out it's 1080p 30 frames per second. So if we just drag this to the new comp button or new sequence button here, we can actually create a new sequence, and we can go ahead and play this, and it's just video, and it's just got this girl dancing. Excellent. Now, thinking 2 steps ahead, you would think that we would go ahead and just drag in the audio, but we have to do some preliminary work on the audio first before we can use it for this particular project. In Premiere Pro, I also like to create some bins. So we'll drag this bin out, and I like to call my main program bin main program, and this is just going to be the final project or whatever. And another thing in Premiere, if you name the project, if you name your sequence correctly to begin with, what will happen is Media Encoder or Premiere will take on the actual name of the sequence. So by naming it here, you can be sure that it'll come out as workoutwoman.mpeg4 when you actually render out. So it's a really good idea to name your sequences. That, and also for organization. Over here, what we'll do is we'll create a footage folder, and we'll drag our footage into the footage bin, our folder, and there we go. Now we've got some clean organization here in our project panel. And then I'll also create one more folder for assets. Now, in a more complex project, I usually create, a lot more folders. There might be folders for graphics assets that'll be underneath footage. There'll be folders for different assets that are brought in, logos wise, that'll be created underneath assets. I like to usually create like a bin called raw footage, and then usually I'll have rendered actual footage files, depending upon whether or not we're doing like a green screen acquisition workflow or whatever. All right. In Fruity Loops here, it's the basic Fruity Loops interface. And what we can do is we can click on Edison here, which is the little scissors. And in case you're looking for like a status indication of what these buttons mean, it's actually right here. So it's kind of weird. Fruity Loops doesn't actually generate a typical Windows kind of sort of shortcut tip. It just generates everything in the status bar. So if you move over any item in Fruity Loops, it's going to typically give you some nice little status indication right there. So that's kind of cool. Alright, so we'll click on the scissors and we'll bring up the Edison editor, which allows us to cut samples, trim out audio, and different things like that. And we'll use Edison to our advantage because it has a nifty little slicing tool that'll help us in Premiere. Alright, so over here in our folder, we'll drag the Fion and Flare and Flore Dubsteady MP3 in, drag it right on top of Edison, and now we've got a waveform in here of our actual audio. And what we'll do is we'll click on the medium auto slicing button here. What this is going to do is it's going to go through and, using some computer trickery and magic, it's just going to find downbeat slices for us. And normally what we could do is we could double click and hit play like so. And we can get some nice quick beats that we can use to actually create some whatever song we're looking to create, a pops or a next pop hit, next Justin Timberlake hit, or whatever have you. And so this is how you would sample. But basically what this program has given us is it's given us markers that mark out the different downbeats and stuff of this actual track. What's great about this is now we can use these to cut to audio in Premiere. In order to do so, all we need to do is click on the little disc with the little plus icon here. This is going to allow us to save our audio out. We're going to save it as a WAV file. WAV files have metadata attached to them, and Edison's basically going to save the metadata for these markers in the WAV file. And make sure we're in the correct directory, cutting the audio footage, and we'll go ahead and save. And there we go. Pretty much done with FL Studio. Alright, so in Audition Cs6, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our WAV file, from our directory. You can just drop it directly here in our project panel. And we can open up the waveform, and now we've got our markers. Now you would think to yourself, hey, why don't we just drag the audio directly into Premiere and just go with it? Well, for some particular reason, Premiere doesn't immediately recognize that there are markers in the WAV file after it's saved out from Edison for whatever reason. But if we bring in an Audition first, and we make sure the markers are in here and all that kind of stuff, and then we just do a save as, and just overwrite our file, now Premiere Pro will recognize these markers. So now if we go into Premiere, we can finally drag in our audio, and we're just going to drag in our WAV file. So from our folder here, let's drag it into assets here, keep our project nice and organized, and we can drag this to the timeline right here, and now we've got all these beautiful markers available to us in Premiere. And now it's just as simple as deselecting the audio track, and by holding shift and moving our playhead, we can actually snap to each individual marker. Alright. So now what we can do is, based on these downbeats that Edison so faithfully found for us, we can actually snap to this marker and then do a Control K, which is the shortcut for actually cutting our video. So with Control K, we can just keep snapping to our markers, holding shift and moving our playhead and snapping to our markers. We can just start to cut up this video and slice it up to match the exact beat patterns of our audio. Alright. Now you might also ask yourself, well, why did this cut happen, off track from where this audio is? Well, the issue here is Premiere Pro is a frame-by-frame editor, and video works by frames, of course. Audio, however, works by samples. So Premiere Pro can't necessarily cut to an exact sample. We can change our timeline display here to show audio time units, and now we've got our samples, and this sample range is based on the sample rate of our actual audio file, which is 44,100 hertz, or 44.1 kilohertz, which is CD audio quality. And basically, for every when this hits like 44,100 or so, it's going to jump to second, or to frame number 2, and then so forth and so on. So there's that many audio samples in a frame, basically. So now we can actually snap directly to, we can actually we come in real close here and open up our audio, we can actually slice our audio directly on samples. We still can't slice our video on samples though, because videos are just simply frame by frame things. So, but at least we can see our audio samples. We can try to edit towards them and get these clean slices in our audio. But I'm gonna turn that off because I like to. I'm gonna slide by frames versus by audio samples. And then also with audio track 1 there, you noticed if it was selected, it actually cuts audio track 1, and I prefer not to cut my audio, so we're just gonna leave that alone, and we're just gonna slice based on video track 1 to cut our video up. And with that done, we can play around with every other beat, or we can play with something different on each beat. For instance, maybe we'll come in here and use Y to activate our slip edit tool, and then maybe we'll just move, each one of these separate video clips into a different particular part of the clip. So what'll happen is we'll get jump cuts between each different clip, you know, which will, when we play back with the audio, as you can see, we're getting a situation where she's dancing to the beat. So that's really cool, and that's pretty much the basic gist of it. This tutorial is pretty much over at this point, you know. So you're just gonna keep slicing, and then you can pretty much edit your track to the beat, or edit your video to the beat. You know, we could take all these cuts and hit V, go back to our regular tool, and we could drag all these cuts out like this, and you know, we could replace this with After Effects composition. Go into After Effects, and on each separate cut, we could do some really crazy effect to, you know, really add some visual drama and interest to this this overall composition. All right, guys, thanks for listening to me. That was a workflow quickie on how to edit music to the beat using Fruity Loops and Premiere Pro. Alrighty, you guys take care.